See, the truth is, I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest.
I want you to listen very closely to what I'm about to say.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Hurd. I'm here with James Hand, coming to you from the home base of Loose Cannon Productions, bringing you another episode of The Truth Hurts, December the 17th, 2016. Heck of a cold day out there.
Killer outside.
Yeah, unpleasant to say the least. But we're going to talk about a couple of different things here. We want to make this different from our regular show that we do twice a week on Score on Ear, Heel and Face, where we just talk about a lot of current events, and we want to get a little bit more in-depth with some of these issues, and a little bit more analysis of what we think is going on with some of this stuff. So WWE announced that they are going to create a new UK championship, and there's a lot of rumbling about, this evolving into a weekly show, possibly from the UK with an entirely different group of people, and reviving a lot of discussion that started years and years ago with a plan hatched by Shane McMahon to sort of create little territories all over the world in the UK, in Japan, in Mexico, and recreate the territories under the auspices of WWE. And this is a plan that, has far-reaching implications, in whatever way that it evolves and, these ideas come to fruition. But it's very, very interesting. The president of New Japan, Kadani, I forget that's the only name I can remember to identify him as, but he's discussing the New Japan hosting the first two nights of the G1 in the United States. In the past, New Japan has done co-branded shows with Ring of Honor. They've done co-branded shows with companies in the UK, but for them to expand into North America,
it's huge.
Yeah, and he's made the president's made statements that just as recently as the last day or two about, to paraphrase what I've read, he said, it's getting to be where you are either with WWE or against them. WWE have a lot of weaknesses, and
people are looking for something different.
Yeah, well, and that we know how we can beat them, and so there's definitely a choosing of sides with FloSlam, which ironically enough, WWE is an investor in. I mean, a minority investor to be sure, and not, and it's in the overall, the business, not necessarily this FloSlam wrestling vertical, as they call it, but they're getting all these UK promotions. ITV, the reason that this WWE UK expansion seems to be causing so many waves is because there's a network, ITV. It's an independent station in the UK. Their TV works a lot differently than it does, here in the US. But they're reviving World of Sport. They did a taping a while back on New Year's Eve. They're going to show this special. If it catches on, they're going to sign a bunch of independent guys. So, there's a huge
wrestling boom.
Yeah, wrestling boom going on in the UK in particular. And just what does this mean for fans? I mean, are you into this UK thing, or is it just another show? Is it just more for the sake of more from WWE?
I think it's just interesting, the fact that all this stuff's coming to us, and it's interesting just in general. I like the British wrestling. Do you?
Oh, of course I do. I mean, I'm somebody who tries to watch as much wrestling as I can and as many different styles of wrestling as I can. And granted, there is a lot out there to watch from the 70s and 80s that is really good. And there's a lot. I've always liked the so-called British style, the Billy Robinson style of wrestling. From what I've seen, I mean, there are times that, you see some of this footage of Billy Robinson in the 70s, and, he makes a guy who's like a great worker today look like The Miz.
Right.
Like this guy wrestles circles around freaking people. And so to see that style, it's so fascinating. And so many guys can do it, but, you're seeing guys like Jack Gallagher now who does a version of the traditional British wrestling style. He does a little bit more like a camp act, I think. But no, I of course am very interested in it, and there's a lot of heritage there to exploit, and that's what WWE's trying to do, is exploit it. That's the word, is exploit. But
isn't that what they always do?
yeah, but really what I want to maybe get into a conversation about here is, does this ultimately lead to too much wrestling for the average fan to process? When you add this in with Lucha Underground, with
Ring of Honor,
of course, with New Japan's show on Access TV, with TNA, with 3 hours, 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 205 Live. If they're going to do another UK only show,
you got the women's tournament coming up.
Right, there's the women's tournament. I mean, WWE itself asks for such a commitment to watch all of the programming. Is it necessary? Is there a point where it's too much, where the fan
gets turned off by it,
or just simply can't watch it all? The fan that wants to and would watch all that was out there in a different time, are they, is that somebody that's, that's a person that it doesn't, or can't be, that fan can't
process it.
Yeah, be a part of the current landscape. Like, can you watch all of the fucking shows that you would want to watch on Netflix or Hulu or on cable? Really? Like, can you keep up with fucking everything with Luke Cage and, I mean, I can't. I don't know the names of these fucking shows. I mean, there's so many.
Gotham, you got all this
Stranger
stuff.
Things, all these different shows that I can't watch because I watch too much fucking wrestling to watch any other goddamn TV. Between wrestling and real sports, and just whatever the fuck I feel like watching. I mean, I like watching old wrestling.
Right.
Because I have the network, I can, but I also love all these new specials. They're great. I mean, they're fun. They're different. Anytime WWE gives you something outside of their box, I want to encourage it.
Right, just at least peep it out, see how it looks. With Regal on this British United Kingdom title announced team, right? Does NXT get a new general manager?
Well, I think the bigger story about that is Nigel McGuinness coming in. I mean, Nigel McGuinness, there's, this is a whole other thing that we'll have to talk about later. I figure in the second part of our discussion, just before we recap, just for listeners out there, the way things are probably going to go for the time being, we'll do a couple of topics in our first part, keep it to around 20 minutes or so, have a short interlude, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about a couple more things and wrap it up, and we'll keep these episodes around 45 minutes apiece or so. But just because everybody has got, that's what we're talking about. We don't have enough time to watch the damn shows, let alone we have to record podcasts. And I know we're going around, to a bunch of different subjects, but here's the honest question. If you and I didn't do a regular show twice a week where we were compelled to keep up with this for the sake of journalistic integrity or whatever. Right. I don't know if you have, any delusions of that or not. Apparently I do. But no, like, would you
watch it all the time?
Yeah. Would you watch Raw and SmackDown every week, or would you skip it?
I might skip one or two, but I wouldn't watch weekly.
Like, yeah, I could care less. I could really give a damn about Raw in general, SmackDown in general. I mean, SmackDown is, to me, is the more tolerable show. And if I had to pick one WWE show, if I had to pick either Raw or SmackDown, I'd pick SmackDown.
Right.
But
if you throw NXT in there, you'd probably say, well, I'd pick NXT.
Well, not really. Like,
for an hour show, though.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if it was just one WWE show a week, yeah. It's unfortunate that it's not 205 Live in a fucking, landslide like it should be for the kind of wrestling I like. Right. The kind of things I wish we could be seeing. 205 Live is a complete dud. A complete dud. I mean, where the hell is Akira Tozawa? Where the hell is Grand Metalik? And these are the same discussions we're having about where the hell is Samoa Joe? Where the hell is Shinsuke Nakamura on the main roster? Is just a pattern that's repeating itself. It's just...
Where's Ty Dillinger on the main roster?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's one of many now. Like, Ty Dillinger...
is over.
Yeah, but he's nothing compared to Samoa Joe or Shinsuke Nakamura. Ty Dillinger is just a guy compared to those two guys. No matter how talented he is, no matter what kind of an upside he is, Joe and Nakamura have fans from around the world, have careers that span, a decade apiece in both guys' cases, longer. I mean, Joe's been around 15, 20 years by this point, and Nakamura too. And like...
if not longer.
And these guys are doing fucking
5-star matches twice a week.
Well, I mean, not quite that, but I mean, they're doing great work, but they're doing it in front of 400 people somewhere in, the middle of nowhere. I mean, they toured Japan, they toured Australia recently, but,
That's usually Full Sail.
Yeah, but would you rather...
I'd rather watch Lucha, actually.
Yeah, that's my
Ring of Honor.
I would be completely satisfied with New Japan and Ring of Honor and the occasional episode of Lucha or NXT or something. TNA, I mean, it has things that I like, but outside of the Hardy stuff, which I'm over now with this final deletion stuff, I'm pretty much over it. I mean, I kind of said that on the show that, like, they need to take a break. They need 6 months or so off. It's not that long, but they need to scale it back on this stuff.
Right. Just let them go back to being regular wrestling matches.
Yeah, but
no more King Maxwell.
You can have all of these elements and stuff, but just don't make it the complete driving force, the only hook that you have for your show. And Anthem is taking over. This is something we'll talk about in the second part of our show, is like 2017 is going to be really, really crazy. But
for wrestling in general, though.
Yeah. But WWE has talked about buying a territory in Japan. I mean, there's a possibility of them buying, to speculate. I mean, I don't have any justification for this, but if there's promotions to buy, it would be Noah maybe. Well, they just got sold, but... maybe All Japan, maybe Wrestle One, like Great Muda's promotion. They don't really have much of a promotion or anything, but
all you gotta do is get your nose in the business.
Yeah, but would WWE buy a promotion in Japan or just create their own, kind of like what they're doing in the UK?
The UK was the guinea pig. If it works, I think they'll go.
Yeah. And that's probably...
The 205 Live, like you said, is a dud.
It should be can't miss TV with the talent that they had lined up and the people they could be using. They could be using Neville. They could be using a lot of other guys. They could be using guys from NXT. Even Austin Aries. I guess he's coming to 205 Live, but he would be wasted on there. Like, it's great that Brian Kendrick has a spot, Rich Swann has a spot, TJ Perkins, Cedric Alexander, all these guys have a spot now, but they're not getting the chance to show what they can do and be different and stand out. It's just skinny guys doing holds.
Right.
And it's paying lip service to this idea, and I'm hoping that this UK thing reverses that trend and is more like the Cruiserweight Classic than 205 Live. But really, what I want to talk, a little bit more about is now that there's this Flow Slam thing. Like, to be honest, I mean, it's starting to get where it has a lot of value between Evolve, between this German promotion that they've signed up with, between the UK promotions that they're aligning with. Like this and New Japan World. With it having English language, live broadcast on all the new events and all the library content it has, but if you tried to have the network, Flow Slam, and New Japan World, how in the hell could you keep up with this shit? Would you? I mean, that's $40 a month approximately for those together. And like,
that's still not bad, though.
That's still not bad. And it's crazy that we are confronted with that. Like, the technology allows for that. And, that we,
can watch wrestling whenever, wherever.
Yeah, and from around the world, and from all of these new stars. But it seems like WWE, their philosophy has always been, we're big enough that we can buy something just so other companies can't have it. We
If
might
you
not
can't beat them, buy them.
Yeah, we might not use this asset in the way that we could, but we're going to prevent somebody else from capitalizing on it. I mean, imagine if a pro sports team went out and signed, what if, the fucking Yankees went out and signed Joey Votto just to send him to AAA, just so the Reds couldn't have him, because he's a star for the Reds, because he's a star for the other team.
You know what? I can see that happening, though.
But that's exactly what WWE is doing. They are, if we were talking about a baseball organization, or we were talking about a football team, imagine if the Browns are fucking, haven't won a game yet this year, but if on the Browns practice squad they had guys who had been in the league for 10 years, great rookies, people who had been, stars in Canada or in, other,
and they're just not playing.
Or in arena football, you have a crop of talent you could utilize that would freshen things up, that would give your team a chance to win, that would make you competitive, that would provide a better product for your fans. Would they deliberately shun the possibility to do that, to maintain mediocrity? And that's what WWE does. And we're, being Browns fans, and I'm a Bengals fan too, and as a change of pace, the Bengals have, finally come back to fucking reality, and
there's no hope for the Browns.
Yeah, but why is this the state of nature
Wrestling
in WWE, and it still dominates people's attention? That
when TNA goes back to normal, that's going to be on that list for too much wrestling.
But where do you choose? What do you choose? Fans are going to have to. WWE is confident that their brand of spectacle is going to survive, and it's going to be more appealing than any other variety. And somebody needs to come along and upset the apple cart again. And hopefully it's a combination of these things, that as the president of New Japan said, you're either with him or you're against him. That was the state of the wrestling business in the mid 80s.
Right.
And it built to something and then collapsed. But for a while there, that's what it was. You had, however successful or unsuccessful these ventures were, you had AWA and NWA teaming up. There was that Pro Wrestling USA show that was around for a while, and it was only around for about a year because everybody was trying to sign each other's fucking guys. But you go watch it. It's on YouTube. You watch that shit, man. It's fucking amazing. They got Rick Martel and Bob Backlund, and they got all of the guys that were not with Crockett and not yet with Vince or not in Mid-South, stars and awesome interviews and awesome matches. That's just one show. But how do you Ring of Honor has so much talent that is going to be out there for WWE to grab. Adam Cole.
Elgin.
Well, Elgin's locked in with New Japan. Elgin's deal is Ring of Honor is too unprofessional for him to deal with, that they haven't even contacted him yet about him saying, hey, I'm not working with you guys anymore.
Right.
But
it's going to be Adam Cole.
What's going to be Adam Cole?
His contract's up. Is he going to stay? Go to WWE?
Well, his contract is up in about 3 months. Pretty much one of the reasons they put the strap on Kyle O'Reilly was to keep him there. We know the Young Bucks are locked in now for 2 years, but there's a lot of other guys. BJ Whitmer might go as a trainer. What I wanted to talk about, you said William Regal, and I got distracted, but the biggest story of this whole UK thing is Nigel fucking McGuinness, man. Nigel McGuinness coming in to do commentary is great. Nigel McGuinness being a trainer at the Performance Center is even better.
Right.
Nigel McGuinness is a tremendous asset. One of the best workers. He's every bit as good as Bryan Danielson was in a different way when he was at his peak. I mean, the matches they had in Ring of Honor are some of the finest wrestling matches of this decade, the last decade. It was actually the last decade.
Right.
Because it's been about 10 years ago, about 8 or 9 since they've had their last match. But those two guys brought back the feel of a Ric Flair versus a Terry Funk, or a Harley Race, or a Dusty Rhodes, or, I mean, these fucking awesome wrestling matches. And Nigel, I mean, I've always been a huge mark for him, obviously, but
look at the way the performance centers went. You got Karina now down there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Carino's going to go down there now. You've got all these Ring of Honor guys, Jimmy Jacobs, Nigel McGuinness, Steve Carino, talking about all these people that, were huge stars. Kevin Steen, El Generico, better known now as Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, fucking Tyler Black, Seth Rollins,
AJ Styles, all this stuff floating around.
Samoa Joe,
Austin Aries,
Roderick Strong. Yeah, like, they've just got all of these guys, and they're not putting a package together, and yet all these other people are circling the wagons around WWE and just might catch up to them. Well, I think the buzzer means that it's time for us to wrap this discussion up there. I don't know. Our neighbors next door are using their garbage disposal. I don't know what that sound was, but anyway, James, any final words on any of the myriad of wide-ranging topics we rambled on about here?
Guess what? Get ready to buckle your seatbelt. It's a wrestling year.
Yeah, when we come back after a little musical interlude, we're going to talk about our predictions for 2017, if we have any. We're going to talk about what some of our best and worst angles or moments or storylines or matches or whatever from the year, and come back with part 2 of this episode of The Truth Hurts. With part 2 of this edition of The Truth Hurts. We're gonna, after our little discussion about all of this wrestling there is to watch, how spoiled we are and how terrible it is to have all of this variety of wrestling, and how in God's name are we supposed to keep up. We didn't even talk about all the independent wrestling, and truthfully, that's what I'd much rather be doing. Right. I would much rather be a part of a show and helping a group of performers and an organization
instead of watching
grow their audience and be involved in perpetuating the wrestling business. Whether it's 10 people, 100 people, hopefully, I get to perform in front of big crowds, or I get to call matches where there are, there's a huge crowd in the building and it's really fired up. But, it was the coolest thing I'd ever done to do it for NWA Midwest, last month. And
how many people was at that show?
I don't know. I mean, it wasn't as big as like PWA, but PWA is a blast every single time.
Well, yeah, definitely.
So it's tough to have when they're both booked on the same day. You
got to make that decision.
Yeah, but I mean, I would much rather try to build my experience, as a commentator and a play-by-play. That's the opportunity I'm looking for at this point. But anyway, that maybe we'll make that a part of our discussion here, and we talk about predictions for 2017 or things that we would like to see. I mean, I would hopefully, I can predict for 2017 that I get to keep getting booked in the wrestling business and keep getting to do what it is I think I can do, and do commentary.
Just helping organizations build.
Just work on lending whatever doing something that somebody else might not be able to do. Those guys can wrestle. Maybe I can do commentary or interviews or help with promos or
audio.
Yeah, or help
or
promote
something.
or do anything. Do anything and everything. But And I predict that we will be doing a lot more of that, and we'll see PWA and NWA Midwest, and maybe we can hook up with this group that's down in Cincinnati, the Northern Wrestling Federation, who we made contact with recently, and
had their champion call on Friday.
And possibly be making a special trip up to join us in the studio sometime soon, and all sorts of other things that are in the works. But as far as the broader world of wrestling that doesn't concern us on a personal basis, do you want to get into that first, or do you want to get into some of your best and worst of the year?
I say we save the best and worst for last.
All right, so I definitely predict, like I said, that 2017 will give me far too much wrestling to watch, but that I will be watching a lot more independent wrestling, that I will make an effort to watch as much independent wrestling as I can, aside from just the same old from WWE. And it's going to require me, honestly...
You're going to watch basically more non-WWE wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, that's a prediction for myself, but I predict that, that there will be a lot more of a reason to do so. I predict that between Flow Slam and New Japan and Ring of Honor, CMLL, and the partnership between those three organizations and all of these other things going on, that suddenly WWE is going to find itself challenged in a way that it hasn't been since WCW was around.
Well, you have TNA with Anthem now.
Absolutely.
I mean, you never know what they're going to be able to do in 2017.
Of course, and the resources they have, and excuse me, being operators of the Fight Network and the distribution that it has, and the fact that TNA is going to be run by apparently sane business people with an eye on the bottom line, and they're not just doing this as some kind of role-playing game like Dixie Carter seemed to be.
Or a hobby. Dixie kind of treated it kind of like a hobby.
Yeah, it was like, really, it didn't seem like she understood or was just susceptible to bad advice and carnies and people that took advantage of her and stuff, and then thought she could be one with Billy Corgan. I mean...
Well, they got Anthem's talking to Jeff Jarrett.
There are rumors about that, that Jeff Jarrett, that GFW... I mean, I believe that was the original plan for GFW, was to sort of...
merge.
Come along and be the thing that helped TNA rebrand, and it could be TNA under a different name, or TNA, in this new version. Billy Corgan definitely had eyes on doing that. I mean, Matt Hardy has stepped up, and because of the attention that he's gotten, because of how valuable he's become to TNA, he has a lot more clout and a lot more stroke in this matter. He can say, like, hey, I want more creative control over my stuff, and TNA, the name TNA has to go. He only calls it Impact Wrestling, and as lame and generic as that is, that's still 1,000 times better, in the general marketplace. So we just have to see those fundamental changes finally get made in TNA.
Well, the thing with Jeff Jarrett, he was there when it was successful. Well, when they were starting to make headway, but then they got dropped when Hogan came over.
Well, yeah, TNA's best time period was from about 2005 to about 2009. Yeah, until Hogan came in, and after they got on Spike TV, and there was a ton of problems and all sorts of bad stuff too, but in the broader picture and with the benefit of hindsight, they had AJ Styles and Kurt Angle and Christian and Petey Williams and Scott Steiner and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and
Stings and stuff like that.
Right, you had Sting, and you had America's Most Wanted, and you had a whole lot of freaking
Beer
talent.
Money.
Yeah, well, all the women's division stuff, all the knockout stuff with Awesome Kong and with Taylor Wilde.
ODB.
ODB and Gail Kim and all of that variety, and all of this talent. And, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Austin Aries, lots of guys really...
Eric Young.
Yeah, did a huge
Well, Jay Lethal was there at one point.
Of course, Jay Lethal. I mean, Jay Lethal had a great run. I mean, he should have been utilized better. I mean, Ring of Honor has been better for his career prospects, I suppose. But TNA had a lot of weapons and they never used them right. So maybe now, even though they have fewer weapons, they'll be more successful in how they deploy them because they have smarter generals to torture a metaphor.
Yeah, because they had the talent, definitely.
Well, they're building more talent, and there's a lot of guys that probably aren't going to be around next year. But yeah, I hope TNA gets on its feet. I hope TNA really, becomes a true alternative to all of these other things, an alternative to Ring of Honor and New Japan, as well as WWE. Not just different for the sake of different, or not just wacky because there's this vacuum and you can fill it, and that's really the final deletion stuff. It's like, well, if
let's be creative,
right? Like, if nobody cares, then let's do whatever.
It's like Matt Hardy taking LSD, basically.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah, Jeff, has imbibed his fair share of creative inducement. Lord knows what compels him to come up with shit like itchweed.
Right.
But I predict we see a little bit more itchweed. I hope we do.
I say we get rid of Brother Nero and just stick with itchweed. That's it.
Well, all they have to do is bring, as they demonstrated, they just have to take water from the Lake of Reincarnation, even if it's in a bucket or something. As long as it's water from that lake, when it's, if you get immersed in it or baptized by it or whatever, it unleashes its power. So,
like it did to Shane Helms.
Yeah, but I definitely hope
TNA gets back.
Yeah.
Definitely, for sure.
Okay. What about Ring of Honor's prospects in the U.S. in 2017? Is it gonna? I mean, just give this just a pass-fail grade. Are they gonna? Is it gonna work? Are they gonna?
I think they're gonna thrive.
Okay. I think they'll sell out. I think if they have manageable expectations, then that's what it's all about. Is how they're Japanese. Let's not be racist and indulge stereotypes here, but they're not going to. Their board of directors and their business hierarchy isn't going to be as self-indulgent and reactionary as Vince McMahon.
Right.
Hopefully, their strategy works. But yeah, I am looking forward to that.
And you never know who else they'll bring in.
Yeah, that's true. And
the more they sell out arenas, the better talent they'll have coming in.
And they have as much TV exposure, if not better, as Lucha Underground and Ring of Honor. I mean, when you look at it on that level, on the level of people with satellite and the
internet in general.
Yeah, it's just as easy to watch Ring of Honor as it is New Japan, as it is Lucha, as it is all these different things, as we talked about in our first episode, or first part of this episode, I should say. But so why don't we take the latter part and close out this discussion for the day on some of our best and worst.
We saved the best for the worst.
Best for last, and save the talk about some of some of the worst that I will have to.
Some of the worst gimmicks.
Yeah, making Darren Young great again.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad, but there were some worse ones though.
Okay, hit me with it.
I can't think of one right now. Hold on. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you could cherry pick any number of things from WWE. I mean, all these little annoyances, all these little things that got dropped. I mean, a lot of people would say James Ellsworth. I mean,
yeah, that's where I was going with it, but my brain blanked.
But I would say that has at least gotten a lot. I'd say that's successful in the idea that dude was a jobber on Raw for one match, and
star,
and they managed to make him a regular character that people responded to. They cheered him, they booed him, they bought his T-shirt, I mean, whether
it's the Brooklyn Brawler theory.
It kind of is, but I mean, it is one like Brooklyn Brawler or Barry Horowitz or some of these guys, but I wouldn't say that that's a failure. I would say that that's a success that they weren't planning. One of those great things about the wrestling business, and one of the things that should happen more often with talent, that they just, if something catches on, they go with it. But
and see where it ends.
Yeah, but there was a lot of stupid nonsense in TNA. I really kind of got sick of the Maria stuff
with Allie,
the women's stuff. I liked Allie, but Maria herself and Mike Bennett and all of that really just felt like nails on the chalkboard to me a lot. I mean, I just think Maria's kind of shrill and she's not a good heel. It's go away heat in this character that she has.
I think she brings down Michael Bennett to an extent.
I don't know. I think that Michael Bennett wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for her. I think he's a completely expendable talent. Like, I don't see what he brings. And in a sense, Aaron Rex. I mean, I'd say that this Grand Championship, it's hard to say it's the worst, but it would, I would rather watch that stuff, I'd say, than the Darren Young. But it was an ill-conceived idea that hasn't gone anywhere yet.
But the best one of the year, Eli Drake.
Okay, you go for Eli Drake. I mean, if we're talking TNA, obviously the Hardy stuff. As divisive as it is, you have to say that that's the most innovative and creative and most interesting thing that TNA has done in years. But in WWE, what are some of your highlights, some things that really stood out to you, or NXT or wherever?
Well, you have to go with number one, AJ debuting.
AJ's debut at the Rumble. Okay.
You have all kinds of stuff that happened over the year. The New Day, of course, you have to bring up.
I would put that on the negative side of things. I think they just that it doesn't serve a purpose. Yeah, that they have blown it with teams like Anderson and Gallows for the sake of keeping the New Day as champions. I personally can't stand this Cedric Alexander, Alicia Fox stuff, and it's such a minimal part of the show at the moment, but it's still just unnecessary.
It's like just filling gaps.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff you could pick out of WWE. Like I said, that's bad, but good. I'd say Alexa Bliss, and she has definitely
came over and taken off.
Yeah, the Revival, DIY,
Samoa Joe, Nakamura.
Yeah,
Ty Dillinger's become a bigger star this year.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that's definitely one. Bobby Roode. There's some positive things, a lot of positive things in WWE. I would say in Ring of Honor, there's been something that was awful was the cabinet. God damn that. that drove me absolutely batshit insane because of how bad it was and how pointless it was. And finally, they morphed it into something else. When it was meant to be a commentary on the whole Trump election, and then he went ahead and got elected, and suddenly
fell apart.
Their bad joke was even less relevant. So it's better now as this rebellion thing. I mean, at least they're just generic heels now. But I couldn't stand that. But
who had one of the bigger years? Adam Cole.
But yeah, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly finally becoming Ring of Honor champion was a great thing. The Ladder War, the Addiction, and Motor City Machine Guns and Young Bucks, man, I mean, that match was outrageously good. Some of the continued push of Roman Reigns, I would say, is
being shoved down your throat.
Yeah.
Do you know what else is being kind of shoved is the Shield reunion?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really.
They keep hinting at it.
Go far enough. But okay, where would you put Goldberg and Brock this year on a? Is that a high point or a low point?
Low point. I wanted to see more.
Yeah, well, we will see more in 2017. I think if you're talking about low points of the year, Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton, just what the hell was that? Why did they do that? Why did they do something that could have been so potentially dangerous to Randy Orton, to not really serve any purpose as far as storylines went? But then Randy Orton rebounded with this Wyatt thing, which has turned out to be a big positive for him.
Maybe they could swing it that when Brock cut him open, something happened.
I know usually WWE doesn't go that way. I mean, I guess they could.
It's kind of like the Broken Matt Hardy
eventually,
kind of
yeah. But I guess they certainly could take it that route. But
what do we want to see in 2017?
Well, like I said, I want to see
matches.
I want to see Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura on the main roster. I want to see Brock wrestle either one of those guys. I want to see Bobby Roode on the main WWE roster. I want to see Kyle O'Reilly kick ass and take names as Ring of Honor World Champion. I want to see
what Cody Rhodes is going to end up doing.
Yeah, what Cody Rhodes is going to do in Ring of Honor. Yeah, that's Cody Rhodes getting a chance to break out is definitely a positive aspect of 2017.
He broke the WWE mold.
Well, went
out and made money elsewhere.
He definitely made money elsewhere. Let's hope that he's able to keep doing so. Between New Japan and Ring of Honor, he certainly has plenty of opportunities.
Maybe TNA again?
Maybe. We'll see how that plays out in 2017. But I want to see TNA go out of their way to sign a talent, to do what we said WWE is not doing, which is, as my dog freaks out upstairs, but do things like, instead of just having something in your closet so somebody else can't, put it in their shop window, they take one of these guys and make them a big star. That Ring of Honor can take Will Ospreay and make him a big star. New Japan can take Will Ospreay and make him a big star. That that TNA can make Eli Drake into a big star, or EC3 or
Galloway
or somebody like that. Yeah, that they can, or find somebody that we don't know who their name is yet. We don't know who they are, or they're just now breaking through and making a name for themselves.
Right. Let's see something, innovation.
Yeah, and hopefully it comes from, somewhere that is smart enough to use it the right way. I want to see one of these guys that we work with on one of these indie shows. I mean, this is just more of a
personal.
Yeah, like I want to see somebody that blows me away. I've seen it in Samantha Heights and in Angel Dust and in some of the stuff that King Payne has done, and some of the guys in PWA, Mace Young, Jimmy Fahrenheit, guys with lots of potential, and that's not to slight anybody that I didn't name, certainly, but that guy AJ Snow in NWA Midwest had a really good match. Some other guys up there, and some names are escaping me right now, but hopefully we get a chance to see somebody who is literally coming in,
fresh, like
we are to this, whether they're 18 or going on 40 like I will be next year, that's what I want to see. I want to feel enthusiastic about the wrestling business and not overwhelmed by mediocrity like I kind of do by WWE, like we established in the first part of our discussion. But we're getting towards the end of it here. We're going to wrap it up here in just a
preview of 2017 dream matchup.
Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar, or Shinsuke Nakamura versus Brock Lesnar.
That would. Oh,
go ahead. Do you have one?
I'd like to actually see AJ and Taker.
That was going to be the other one I would say. So there we go. We will. Those are our
just not John Cena.
Yeah, but if I could make it happen, fantasy booking matches for 2017,
or Shawn Michaels
in
and
WWE.
AJ.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels and AJ would be something else. But I want to thank everybody for joining us here again for The Truth Hurts. If you can interact with us for now via our Heel and Face Facebook page, or and make sure to check out that show every Monday and Friday. Score on Air, TuneIn Radio, YouTube. But come back with us next time when we talk more about the world of pro wrestling. So my name is Aaron Hurt. Thanks once again to James Hand for joining me, and you've been listening to The Truth Hurts.